I just saw a thing the other day, John, like I'm a Christian. I don't consider myself like a biblical expert, but he literally said that God gave Mary the option to abort Jesus before going for. Like, are you serious, bro? Did you just say that out loud on a microphone?
I want to bring in our guest today, Stephen Gardner, to see if he can fill us in a little bit. Steve, a delight to have you with us, folks. If you don't know Steve, which I think all of you by now know Steve probably better than me, the host of the Stephen Gardner Show, a terrific show each and every single day on YouTube. Delight to have you with us, my friend. Happy Friday. Let's begin with first a little clip from this interview of Jill Biden, because I think it's so asinine. It's so disrespectful to the voters and to us with what she's lying about.
Were you horrified as you saw it unfold?
I wasn't horrified. I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
Before or since? Never.
Or since?
Yes, or
You've
since.
never seen him like
never.
that?
No.
What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, as I watched it, I thought, oh my God, he's having a stroke. And it scared me to death.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do? Lie!
Oh, I thought it was so telling that we ended the clip there on lie. Steve, what world was this woman living in? She calls herself a doctor. We know she's not a doctor. What world was she living in?
Right now, the Bidens are suing to try to block the transcripts from his Robert Hur, where he stole documents. They're also trying to stop the tapes being released where he was using top secret information with a ghostwriter to put out a book where he was advanced $8 million. I believe that this is not about national security. I think on those tapes, it proves that he was mentally deficient. I don't know what this Dr. Jill, is talking about because he obviously was mentally diminished. So I think that she is lying to the base right now. They are doing everything they can to protect his reputation. But I mean, when I saw this back, I was like, oh my gosh, she's right. It does look like he was having a stroke. And then what does she do? She infantilizes him. She treats him like an elementary school. Student, you did it, Joe. You answered every question. And what did Trump do? And they obviously, this whole thing is a setup. He lied. How would they know to say that before she said that? So the whole thing is a scam. He had yogurt for brains. It's really sad. I don't wish dementia on anybody, but it was so obvious that this guy was mentally deficient.
Yeah, and the sad part about it, and President Trump put out a statement, I'm just going to read part of it. Jill Biden is now out there finally admitting that she didn't know what went wrong with their Sleepy Joe during our spectacular and highly rated 2024 presidential debate, where Joe was not exactly performing to the highest level of debate standards. She said that she thought he was having a stroke and various other really bad things, yet never rushed on stage to help her troubled husband, as any good wife would do. The only thing she failed to mention was how well I was doing prior to his nearly total collapse. In other words, as many have asked, did my strong performance in that debate cause him to plain and simple choke, leading to his ignominious defeat, or were there other reasons to the cause? Nobody else knows the answer to that, but I do. So how does she not know? Obviously, she knew. And I've said this for quite some time. We do feel bad. I don't think Joe Biden was ever a good person in his life. But at the end of the day, right, we're not taught in Scripture to pray badly upon people for how they sin. We're supposed to, forgive. But how does anyone forgive? How could Joe Biden, and obviously you said yogurt for brains, how could he forgive his wife for putting him through that, or his crackhead son for putting him through? It was the embarrassment, I think, of this country.
Yeah, a couple of things. I remember during the debate, President Trump said, I don't know what the hell he just said. Does anybody, right? And then another thing, she says that she's never seen this before or since. She ran their last cabinet meeting because he couldn't run the meeting. So I think that she is lying to the American people. Again, right now, they are in multiple very expensive lawsuits trying to cover up these transcripts and these tapes because it proves how mentally deficient he was. And then the last thing is, my theory is that they actually had him on some kind of a substance. And on that night, they forgot to inject him, or they purposely didn't inject him so that he would embarrass himself on the public stage and be booted out of the White House.
Yeah, the funny part about it was they were like, they were accusing Trump of being on Adderall. Now, for people who aren't in tune with the world, as you know, I had to do some research on it. Adderall has a similar effect on people as cocaine, right? So it'd wake you up, make you more alert. So they've accused Trump for 10 years now of being on Adderall. And it's like, no, this is the same Trump we've seen, whether you love him or hate him. This is the same Trump we've seen. But time and time again, Steve, including this week, they're trying to sell the fact that Trump is dying. Trump is dying. Trump is dying. And I don't know if you remember, but they did this about 4 or 5 months ago. And it was like, Trump has not been seen since Friday. It's Sunday, right? Okay. Joe Biden would disappear for a week at a time, and it was normal. So a few months ago, it's like Trump disappeared. He's gone. Nobody knows where he is. And then he posts a picture on the golf course like, okay, idiots, I'm right here. Yeah. They're trying to do it again. This week, he did his annual physical at Walter Reed. And they're like, oh, he's back at Walter Reed again. He's doing something wrong. There's something wrong with him. And I'm like, dude, they just sold the greatest scam of all time. Joe Biden having cancer, number one, number two, in strict cognitive decline. But yet it's always comes back to Trump. When does it end?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's running on Adderall. We know what he's running on: McFish sandwiches and Diet Coke. I mean, like it's been proven that that's what he's running on. What really bothers them is that this man at almost 80 has higher testosterone than most of them and higher cognitive ability, and he's winning on many things. Right now, he's winning on just about everything except for gas prices. And even with that, he just went 118 for 118 on his endorsements. So his voter base is being patient. Now, I think that patience is going to wear thin because everyone is getting tired of the high gas prices. But other than that, they like what he's doing.
Yeah. The testosterone one is funny because it's true. He's got more testosterone than every Democrat out there. And the one that comes to mind is the guy who's running for Senate down. His name even slips my mind. Tallarico down in Texas, who I look at the betting markets, right? Because the way I like to see things, Stephen, as a poker player, is I like to see where people putting their money where their mouth is, right? So I check Kalshi every day and I check Polymarket every day to see what the people are thinking, see where the people are at on it. And they're actually giving Ken Paxton only a 60% chance. Now, I have no ad deal with Kalshi or any of these people, but if you've got some extra money laying around, I would take it and I would go to Kalshi, and I have myself done this. I also put a wager in that the Republicans hold the House, which the odds are extremely favorable right now for that bet. But I'd go put that money on the 60% chance that Ken Paxton is going to beat this guy Tallarico, who probably has very low testosterone down in Texas. But the same notions. It's Texas is purple. It's going blue. I mean, when was the last time we saw that happen for a Senate race or for a gubernatorial race just in Texas alone?
It's been a very long time. I think Trump should start calling him Low T Tallarico, right? And Texas does not need a beta male, who has this Christian. I mean, I just saw a thing the other day, John, like I'm a Christian. I don't consider myself like a biblical expert, but he literally said that God gave Mary the option to abort Jesus before going for. Like, are you serious, bro? Did you just say that out loud on a microphone? Like, come on. So yeah, he's Low T Tallarico. I think he's going to lose. Ken Paxton was on my show multiple times. And he's a fighter. He fought against Obama. He fought against Biden. He's going to be a fighter for Trump. Yeah. And they of course want to go after the personal life. They're like, oh, Paxton's going through a divorce and the trial starts on June 24th and it's open to the public. And it's like, man, I don't care what happens with someone at home. That's their personal life. Someone's going through a divorce.
That's their personal life, right? What I care about is, are you going to govern for the American people? Are you going to govern for the people of Texas? Are you going to govern with the best interest of this country and not your pocket? Are you going to govern and not be a corrupt SOB? And we keep seeing time and time and time again that it keeps coming back. The litmus test is that the Democrats are corrupt as heck. So that's what I look at when now I'm not a Texas resident, but where I'd be happy to go vote for Ken Paxton. I consider Ken a friend for a long time. He was a great friend of the great Lou Dobbs. That's what I go to vote for. I don't, and it's the same thing like when people talk about gay marriage or gay this. I don't care who you go home to sleep with at night. Do I agree with it? No, it's against my religion. Yes. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me who you're going home and sleeping with at night. Does that make sense to you? You agree?
Yeah, it does. I mean, we want people of good moral character, but we also want people that fight for us. I have a brother who used to be a Christian. He's now decided that it's a made up imaginary story. He said to me, "How on earth can you support Trump? He's a fake Christian." I said, "Listen, what he does on his own time is fine, but the fact that he fights for my Christianity matters to me." So that's where I stand.
Yeah, and I'm in total agreement with you on that. And he doesn't pretend. Trump doesn't pretend he's holier than thou. Trump doesn't pretend that he's at church every Sunday. Whereas you had Joe Biden, who was at church every Sunday, allegedly, but was in favor of abortion. Okay, make that one make sense to me. Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Hakeem Jeffries. The double standard, Steve, it never seems to end. And the problem is nobody calls them out. Let's turn a little bit away, and let's go to Louisiana. This afternoon approved their new congressional map that eliminates that racially gerrymandered district, sending the bill now to the Senate where it's poised to pass. The High Court issued the ruling of 6-3, just another loss for the Marxist Dems in the fight of gerrymandering that they started.
Yeah. They make everything about race, right? Like any Black American can still run for that seat. The Black residents that live in that city or state can still vote for people. I mean, I live in Utah, which is one of the highest white populations, and we voted for Burgess Owens and for Mia Love. Yeah. I mean, so we want people of good moral character that are going to go and fight on our behalf. I don't care how much skin pigmentation you have in your body. Are you a good person? Are you going to fight for the values I care about? And so they've been doing this gerrymandering. They've been using race as a weapon, as an ace up their sleeve. And now people are over it. They're saying, listen, we're going to fight back. You guys screwed us over in the U.S. Census. You guys have been screwing us over because we've had weak GOP leaders. And now we've got somebody with high testosterone that's going, no, I am going to fight back and take this country back on your behalf.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that somebody is actually fighting for it. And Jeff Landry is a great American, and I think Jeff's a great governor. I spend a decent amount of time down in New Orleans, probably 3 or 4 times a year. And the last time I was down there for Mardi Gras, it was like the safest I've ever seen the place. The National Guard on every street corner, barricades on every other block so that you couldn't drive a car down the street. You couldn't bring some sort of IED down the street like we've seen in the past. And it's things like that need to wake people up to realize that, yes, it matters who you vote for in the Senate. Yes, it matters who you vote for in the House. But the real fight comes down to your governor, and it comes down to your local Senate, your local city council, or however your state is structured, because they're the ones who are really governing what you're doing inside that city. And, you know, before Lou Dobbs passed away, it was something he and I were working on to start to try to bring awareness to people that it is important that you go vote for that Joe Schmo, that low-level city councilman, because they're the ones who are approving these district maps. They're the ones who are fighting for you at the local level. And I think that gets overseen sometimes by the macro picture.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of money and attention gets focused on the House, the Senate, the president. But at the end of the day, the people running the state are what keep it red, blue, good, bad, sanctuary, free to do commerce, all of that.
Yeah, and we need to raise awareness. And now that we spoke about it, I'm going to get my rear end back on it because, like I said, I think it's extremely, extremely important. Let's turn now to another state who's having a little bit of a hard time, and that's none other than the great state of Minnesota. Todd Blanche delivering a warning shot to Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz. letting them know they could be indicted for negligence or being complicit in the massive fraud cover-up in Minnesota. Let's take a listen in.
It's not enough of a form of accountability for the people out there that are having thousands, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars stolen from them through fraud.
Yes, that's right. So here's how we talk about accountability. We talk about arrests, we talk about prosecutions, we talk about jail sentences, and that's what we're doing at the Department of Justice. We're working with inspector generals, FBI, DHS, and HSI agents, and just a few examples. A jury convicted a Florida man of over $8 billion in Medicare fraud just last week. There was a man sentenced in Minnesota to 41 years in prison for fraud. And these are these cases are fraud of the worst kind. Fraud against our most needy, or the people who deserve the money the most. Children who need money for their lunches when they're at school. Elderly who are having all kinds of medical procedures done in their name when they're not even asking for them. And this is money coming from the federal government. It's your tax dollars. It's my tax dollars. The only way we can hold them accountable is by putting them in jail.
Does that include politicians? Well, I know that we're in the investigative process, and I know that your answer to me probably will be you need to let the investigation play out. But if this lands, and can be proven, that politicians were in some way culpable, overseeing it, negligent in some way, political accountability just isn't enough for the American people.
That's consistent with the president's absolute directive to his Department of Justice. It does not matter if you're a politician or if you're a fraudster from Somalia. We cannot tolerate it. And Governor Walz is a great example. He has done nothing but sue us. Okay, sue the Department of Justice for trying to get records to understand the fraud happening in his state. Okay, so that is his reaction to us trying to save the government's money and recover against fraudsters, is filing lawsuits against us.
And what's been the reaction of California?
That's the most level-headed I've heard from an attorney general, Stephen, in as long as I can remember. I mean, well, think about it. We had Merrick Garland, and then you had Pam Bondi, and it's like a breath of fresh air. You know, you still have people crying and yelling that they want Todd Blanche gone, but I'm of the mindset, give this guy a chance. Everything I've heard from him in this short stint he's had, I've been thoroughly impressed with, I got to be honest with you. And he often gets flack that he was a lifelong Democrat. Well, guess what? So was Donald Trump, you know?
Yeah, Donald Trump, literally his entire cabinet are former Democrats. Yeah. So that doesn't bother me. People see the light. They make change. When you know better, you do better, right? But I would love to see some accountability. It really makes me mad when Governor Tim Walz and others go on camera and they say, we didn't know about the fraud. And then out of the other side of their mouth, they're literally suing to protect the fraudsters, to block more fraud from coming out. I am so sick of the hypocrisy, and I'm grateful that Todd Blanche, his opinion is the only way to get through to some of these people is to throw them in jail.
Do you think Todd Blanche is going to eventually be the Attorney General of the United States? Do you think he's got what it takes, as President Trump likes to say, got what it takes to do the job?
You know, I wondered about that. I had the former Assistant Attorney General, Jeff Clark, on yesterday, and I asked him that exact question. And he said, listen, right now, Trump's under no pressure to put him through a congressional hearing. He's already acting. He has all of the authority as the Deputy Attorney General. So let sleeping dog lay and just let this guy go crazy. But he's great. And you know what? I liked Alex Jones, but he was poisoning the well on Todd Blanche over and over again just because he wasn't getting his way. And it turns out if you just look at the actions and the words of Todd Blanche, he's doing a great job for President Trump and the MAGA movement. Yeah, and I think people have opened up to it a little bit more because you said poisoning the well. I think that's a perfect analogy. We were told while Pam Bondi was sitting back doing nothing, and you and I spoke about this many times, and I went after her many times. While she was out there doing absolutely nothing, everyone's going, oh, well, it's Todd Blanche behind the scenes who's stopping everything. I'm like, okay, hold on one second. It's like Deputy Attorney General, Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, Attorney General. And I'm like, how is he the one poisoning the well when she's literally the Attorney General of the United States? She leaves, lo and behold, and we see things are starting to finally move. So I don't agree with the assertion that he's corrupt. If it comes a point where it turns out things start to seem a little fishy, then we look at it. But I don't think you can just go out there and say, oh, this guy's corrupt. He's part of the deep state. He's not going to get anything done.
I try to see the best in everybody.
Well, a lot of Trump's top picks are former media people because he wants good communicators. Sarah Carter, former Fox, Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi. But I don't think Pam Bondi was the right person for the job. It now turns out she may have actually been pretty worn down because she was fighting cancer. But I'm grateful that he removed her. And I think Todd Blanche, he's not a media guy, but he seems to be doing pretty well. But right now, what he's doing is he's literally saying, what does MAGA want and what is justice? And then he's blending that Venn diagram and he's delivering for all of us.
I'd argue he's the best one for the job because he was by President Trump's side as President Trump fought for his life, literally and figuratively, in a courtroom every single day. So Todd knows what they did to him. And I think he's probably a very, very good attorney. Lived a private practice his whole entire life. Pretty impressive record. I think made a lot of money. So who better for the job than that? Let's turn to some corrupt judges. Earlier this week or late last week, I should say, President Trump's administration approved a $1.8 billion compensation fund for people of wrongful DOJ prosecutions, or as I say, persecutions. And namely, some of those people are January 6ers. Your Gavin Newsom out there saying yesterday he's going to tax them at 100%, to which Scott Bessent replied, you can't fix stupid. Today, a Clinton judge has blocked that compensation package. The Supreme Court ruled that these judges can't continue to do their reckless block Trump, yet it's still happening.
Yeah, it is still happening. I mean, I've got mixed feelings on this one. On the one hand, I've had a lot of J6ers that were wronged. I've had people that weren't even part of the January 6th that were also just there that day that were wrong. Yeah. And my heart goes out to them. At the same time, I hate to see taxpayer money used on things that aren't really pushing things forward. At the same time, Trump was on track to win a $10 billion lawsuit. 1.8 billion is a lot less. So I don't know. We'll see how this whole thing shakes out. At the end of the day, I don't have any skin in the game. And so whatever happens. But I mean, anything that Trump does, the Democrats are going to take the exact opposite. I mean, what he should have done is try to donate that money to cancer, and then they would have come out against people that have cancer. I mean, that's what he probably should have done.
Yeah, and the other thing is you and I don't know what it's like to go through lawsuits like that. We don't know what it's like to be drained financially of everything to defend ourselves when at the end of the day, there was really no defending yourself anyway, because the whole thing was just stacked up corruption. So I these people I think deserve everything that they're going to be given. We didn't spend time in jail. It's hard for us to say. All right, it's like to realize what these people went through, and I'm glad President Trump is righting the wrong, because what was done to these people and people like Roger Stone and Manafort and Michael Flynn was just wrong. Jeff Clark, you just mentioned Jeff Clark. Jeff Clark's told me last time I spoke to him, his legal bills are over $1 million. And it's like, how do you survive that? If you're just a regular guy, not everyone has $1 million. The only reason Trump was able to fight is because Trump had a lot of money to do so. But January 6th was a lot of them, public servants, cops, firemen, blue collar workers who just couldn't defend themselves. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, and again, I've had 7 or 8 of them on my show, and my heart goes out to them. Brandon Strzok, Dr. Simone Gold, others. So again, I don't have any skin in the game, but a lot of them that I talked to, one of them was in solitary confinement for 11 months. I mean, I would have gone absolutely crazy. Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out. But again, Democrats, whatever Trump does, if he wants a ballroom, they're against the ballroom. If he wants to, get people money back from being weaponized by the Department of Justice, they're against it. Anything he does, they're against it.
Yeah. Well, after the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Trump was like, this is the reason why we need to have the ballroom. And they're like, no, he doesn't need it now. And it's like everything he does, like he makes the point. And it's like,
it makes me crazy. They keep saying that he's using taxpayer money. Literally, it's donations from him, his family, and his friends. They're giving this gift to America, but because they hate him so much, they keep spewing this lie that he's using taxpayer money to build that.
Profuse liars. It's what the Democrats do. I think it's what they're best at. Steve, let's turn to some international news. Last week, or earlier in the week, I should say, over the weekend, the holiday weekend, they had a ceasefire deal in place. It was getting ready to get signed. Then they extended, and then they said, no, there's none. Then they said there's another one. And it's kind of gone back and forth, back and forth. They reportedly now reached some sort of framework of a deal. President Trump went down to the Situation Room to try to figure out, what's the deal here. How much longer can President Trump go back and forth with these terrorists, because that's what they are, back and forth before he says, okay, you guys aren't interested in making a deal? Because I personally don't believe that they're interested in making any deal. They want to sweat it out, see how much longer, and they want the American people, the radical leftists, to put pressure on, and the rhinos to get President Trump to wrap this thing up. How much longer do you think he holds on before he says bombs away?
I don't know, because I know for a fact he wanted to bomb in the last week, and Saudi Arabia and UAE, they said, listen, we're speaking with our Arabic brothers over here. We think that we're making progress. Now they are in the Situation Room. It does look like there might be a delay on the nuclear, but at least let's get the oil flowing again. So I think President Trump knows, okay, I've got to do something about this nuclear. At the same time, I've got to get these gas prices down, not only for America, but for the rest of the world, but especially as we head into the midterms, because right now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I think a lot of people are really impressed with him. They like what he's doing. They're being patient, but these gas prices are really hurting a lot of Americans.
Yeah, and I say this on every show. It's time to wrap it up. It's time to figure out what you want to do. Nobody wants to be paying for gas prices. We went after Joe Biden for manufacturing these gas prices. Let's wrap this thing up and go one way or the other. Either finish the job or make a deal. And Donald Trump is the deal maker in chief. He should understand what a deal looks like and when people are bluffing. Steve, it's always a delight to talk to you. You get the last word here, my friend.
I don't know what it's like to live under the pressure of being Donald Trump. On the one hand, I have 100% belief that within 24 hours, he could knock Iran back into the Stone Age. Yeah. I think he genuinely wants to be known as a peacemaker. He understands that he has to wield that power carefully, and I think he's done an excellent job. At the same time, I do believe once things open up, there is so much oil floating on the ocean right now, waiting to get through to these refineries. I do believe that gas prices will come down, but again, they've got to get this thing wrapped up.
I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. Stephen Gardner, host of the Stephen Gardner Show. Come back soon, my friend.
Thank you so much.